This week marks the official start of winter for meteorologists. While Central Texas doesn't typically see an extreme season, recent years have shown that's not always the case.
Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon and morning meteorologist Kristen Curry have an in-depth look at the season ahead and why this winter is different.
Between a warming climate, the return of La Niña, and a worsening drought, this winter could have a lot in store for Central Texas.
First, let's start with what's new this winter. Winter weather alerts will be familiar to anyone who's lived in Texas the last few years, but this year there will be some changes.
The National Weather Service, the agency in charge of issuing the alerts, have made some simplifications when it comes to the terminology. So before, we would hear things like hard freeze watch and a freeze watch. Well, now that gets simplified to just a freeze watch. A hard freeze warning and a freeze warning when freezing temperatures are imminent now just becomes simply a freeze warning. What about those extended periods? Cold. Well, let me show you. The extreme cold watch and the wind chill watch simply becomes extreme cold watch. Extreme cold warning, wind chill warning, a couple of those we saw back in 2021, simply becomes extreme cold warning. We're getting rid of that wind chill. The reason behind the cold and just telling you and warning you it's gonna get cold. The wind chill advisory simply just becomes the cold weather advisory. Now that's the new terminology, but Nick, this year we're gonna hear a lot about a familiar foe.
La Niña is coming back again. This will be our fourth of the last 5 winters in La Niña. But what is it? Well, La Niña is characterized by cooler than normal waters in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. These water temperature changes force the jet stream, which serves as the storm track, farther north, generally keeping Central Texas warmer and drier than normal for winter as a whole.
Oh, I feel like every winter it's been getting warmer. That's kind of what I've noticed.
Seagoing, so hopefully we'll have a nice warm winter. I do not like cold weather, so I'm wishing that it'll be warm.
Now, despite the forecast supporting a turn to La Niña this winter, and as a result, a big picture trend towards warmer and drier conditions, we never let our guard down. In fact, some of our recent La Niña winters have brought some of the most severe winter weather outbreaks in our area's history. Middle February 2021, what would become one of the worst winter weather events on state record. Not only did downtown Austin record its second biggest snowfall with a total just shy of 6.5 inches, the city also endured the longest stretch of time at or below freezing, 144 hours or 6 consecutive days. Sub-freezing temperatures, ice and snow led to over 500,000 without power in Central Texas. Some of those outages forced by ERCOT, saying blackouts were needed to keep the state grid intact. We'd later find out Texas was just 4 minutes away from a total grid collapse. Over the course of 10 days, schools and universities closed. The Austin-Bergstrom Airport shut down, and multiple Central Texas cities issued boil water notices, including Austin, when water treatment plants went offline. By the end of the storm, 246 Texans lost their lives, 28 of those in Travis County. 2 winters later, one of the worst ice storms in Austin's history. Early February 2023, a powerful Arctic outbreak and a winter storm brought up to 1/4 inch of ice to Austin, damaging an estimated 10.5 million trees, 30% of the city's tree canopy. Ice accretion totaled over 3/4 inch in parts of the hill country, once again rewriting the record books.
But every La Niña is different, and this year is no exception. With the expectation of a weaker and shorter duration La Niña, the outlook for winter brings more unique challenges. I looked into how scientists are
this year than what we normally have with a La Niña.
Forecasts are rarely a slam dunk, but this winter, climate scientists like Tom DiLiberto say it may be even more difficult to figure out.
A weak La Niña doesn't mean that we won't necessarily see La Niña-like impacts across the United States. It just means we may not be as confident in that coming to fruition.
La Niña's strength is based on just how much colder than normal the water temperature is in the eastern Pacific Ocean. The colder the water there, the stronger the La Niña. But according to NASA, as oceans warm globally due to climate change, it's harder to get the waters to cool to the levels that define a La Niña, especially a strong one.
There is the potential that even though the La Niña by our normal metrics, looks like it's going to be a weak or even a borderline case, that the atmosphere may reflect a more typical La Nina pattern just based upon the difference in temperatures between the western and the eastern Pacific Ocean.
Adding to the uncertainty, La Nina hasn't officially begun. When it does, it will be among the latest starts on record.
Going back to 1950, there might be 2 cases where that's happened. So we do not have a huge backlog of cases to be able to look back and see what the sort of impacts have been.
So what do we expect now through the end of winter? Well, 99% of climate scientists agree that climate change is resulting in warmer winters, while a worsening drought allows temperatures to climb more during the day and the expectation for at least a weak La Nina. We predict this winter will be warmer than normal.
And going in depth on the numbers, we expect average temperatures this winter will be 2 to 3 degrees above the 30-year normal. Still, La Nina winters have the potential to bring Arctic temperatures with colder Canadian air spilling farther south. We expect 1 to 2 of those particularly last this season, with the potential for at least one wintry weather event.
The precipitation forecast is more of a challenge. One wet week can reverse a season of drought, but the expected storm track does not look to favor frequent rain. We expect most of the area sees 1 to 2 inches less rain than a typical winter.
Taking into account these predictions, there is no excuse not to be ready for anything. A winter weather kit with batteries, water, and food could be the difference between life and death.
Stay with KXAN all season long as our team of meteorologists track every winter storm in what's usually a short but memorable season here in Central Texas.